Hi guys, my name is Emily, and today I'm here to do my November wrap-up. This was a very busy month in terms of school stuff. I had, and still have, a ton of assignments due. I had to mark 50 undergrad essays. I've also been doing a lot of researching, a lot of articles, so not a lot of books got read, but I will share with you what I did read this month. So first, I finished off the December issue of The Walrus, and there was actually an article in here about deleting the comments on online forums, and I'm hoping to film a discussion video about the article over the Christmas break because I think it would be interesting to get your feedback. I also read Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, which is a post-apocalyptic speculative fiction text. I would like to do a full review of this book, but for now you can know that I liked it. I ended up doing a lot of reading for the fairy tale course that I'm a TA for. I read The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupery. My French is terrible at this point, so excuse that. It was nice to read this in English because prior to this I had only read it in French in grade 12, so it was interesting to read it in English and to have the opportunity to think about it in a more analytical sense. So that was really cool. I also read Bambi by Felix Salten. This is completely different from the Disney version of Bambi. The Disney version takes out a fairly key scene. I'd almost like to do a review of this too, even though it's a children's book. This is more about Jewish nationalism than cute animals, and Disney kind of completely eliminates that. Apparently copies of Bambi were actually burned by the Nazis during World War II because of the Jewish nationalism in it, and we don't really get that in the Disney film, this idea of preserving your identity and standing alone even when that might not be easy. Then I had to read The Adventures of Maya the Bee by Waldemar Bonsels. This is about German nationalism, and so this text was of course allowed by the Nazis. This was not a fun reading experience. It's like, it's long, it's very long, and they're just kind of random encounters of Maya and various insects, and after a while it got very repetitive and I didn't super enjoy this, but that doesn't mean that it's not doing interesting things as children's literature. I also read, for the fairy tale course, Pippi Longstocking by Astrid Lindgren, and so I had grown up watching the Pippi animated TV series for kids, and I was surprised that a lot of the things that actually happen in the text happen in the show. Like, they actually did a pretty good job taking these little incidents, because each chapter is like Pippi doing something strange and eccentric. So like each episode of the TV show was Pippi doing something strange and eccentric, often straight from the text. The one thing that struck me reading this is that Pippi is kind of like an on-crack version of Anne of Green Gables. The most recent thing I've read is Nalo Hopkins' The Salt Road, and I did not enjoy this. It takes place over 3 time periods in 3 different places with 3 different women. So there's a woman named Myrrh on a slave plantation, a woman named Jean in the 1800s in France, and there is a woman in ancient Egypt, but at the point where the Greeks have come in and brought Christianity so that the old ways of ancient Egypt are dying, and that worshipping the gods is considered pagan. And so her name switches a lot, but she is Meritet at the end, I believe. It develops 3 very different plot lines looking at how women of color were treated in various positions. All 3 of them have this connection with this god Lazarin, I believe, and this goddess is kind of somehow connecting them, is involved somehow in their minds, kind of watching what's going on in these 3 time periods. There are things about this book that are really cool, but I didn't like the reading experience because we start out with Myrrh on the slave plantation. That plotline I found really interesting, and then we kept going back to Jean in France, and I didn't enjoy that. She was Charles Baudelaire's mistress, and they ended up with the clap. It was just yucky. I didn't care about Jean and Charles Baudelaire. The bit with Meritet in ancient Egypt happened in the last third of the book, and it felt so abrupt, and I didn't really care about her. I cared about Myrrh and the, like, freedom of the slaves narrative line, and I didn't enjoy the flipping. I know one of the girls in my class was surprised that I didn't like this, and so she's told me to read Midnight Robber, which I have ordered. So hopefully I will read that over the Christmas break when it comes, and I will have a video for that. I'm not going to review this just because I didn't like it enough to talk about it more than I am here. Yeah, I gave this 1 star on Goodreads. I can get that there are things that we can definitely talk about in the classroom, but I didn't enjoy this as a reading experience for me personally. I also started for the fairy tale course the Zig Zag Kid, but then essay marking kicked in and I haven't finished it. I was supposed to have finished it on November 24th. Probably see this in the December wrap up. Part of the reason why the reading has been so minimal is this huge stack of essays that I got the privilege of marking. So that has been fun and exhausting. This is a book that I almost forgot about. I'm working on an essay on this book right now, and it is The World We Found by Thrity Umrigar. Umrigar? This is so good, but has a huge flaw in my opinion. So it tells the story of 4 best friends who have lost touch since they left college or university. As young people, they were quite politically active, quite radical, and as they've grown up and grown apart, they've become less and less so. And so one of them is in America and is sick with cancer, and 2 of them are kind of upper class Parsi women, and then one of them has converted to Islam and is living in these slums post the 1993 Bombay riots. And so when they all come together to go to America to kind of visit their friend with cancer one last time, it causes some conflict and it does some problematic things in terms of reproducing certain discourses on Arab and Muslim bodies post 9/11. Umrigar is an Indian American author. This book was published in English for American reading audiences, and if you look at reviews on Goodreads and Amazon, it's quite well received, but no one really talks about the Islamophobic discourses that it perpetuates. Even in Canada, we pick up on a lot of American news and discourses, and so post 9/11, Muslim and Arab bodies were constructed in a very specific way to justify the war on terror. As an Americanized person picking up this book, it doesn't do much to challenge those discourses on Muslims, and it actually does a super, super problematic thing at the end of the novel, which is what I want to talk about in my essay. So I really enjoyed this, and I'm really enjoying writing about this, because it came off as kind of like a fluffy, feel-good story, but there's also a lot in here to work with. So I would highly recommend that you check this out, but keep those post 9/11 discourses in mind. It might be a bit of an exercise in having to constantly reposition yourself and the way that you think, which can be fun sometimes. That is actually it. That is what I have read in November. Let me know what your favorite book that you read in November was, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye!